Good morning. It's 8:05. I'm Helen Mark, and you're very welcome to Your Place and Mine. On the programme today, we'll be meeting the men with stars in their eyes. Now, all this week, there has been quite a performance happening far above our heads. A vast meteor shower has been scattering light across the heavens. And my first guests, Terry Mosley and Philip Baxter of the Irish Astronomical Association, have been keeping a watchful eye on what's going on. Well, obviously, they don't get very much sleep, and I have to say they are looking surprisingly well, considering that, which is just as well you're in fit form, because you've a busy day ahead of you as part of the Solar Day, which is happening at Carnfunnock Country Park. But we'll talk about that shortly. What about this meteor shower, Terry? What is it? What's happening?
What you get is every year the Earth passes through a stream of debris that has been left behind by a comet as it orbits around the sun. This comet is called Swift-Tuttle. And every August the Earth passes through the orbit of that comet and the stream of dust particles that have been left behind. And they collide with the Earth at the speed of about 60 to 70 miles per second. So they rush into our atmosphere at very high speed and they burn away in a little streak of light, and that's what gives you a meteor, or what's commonly called a shooting star or a falling star. And this is one of the best showers of the year. It reached its peak on Wednesday night, still going on for another couple of days, but we got a reasonably clear night down at Delafont Country Park and saw 40, 50 meteors or so that night. Really? It was really lovely.
Yeah. And is it like a streak of light or an explosion of light, Philip? Or what does it actually look like?
It's a very fast streak of light shooting across the sky. The Perseids themselves, which is the name of the shower, they are some of the quickest meteors that you actually get in the night sky. And you have to be very, very quick to try and catch them. And during the night, we had a barbecue first of all, and then we all settled down to watch what was going on. We had about 30 people there. And we actually had a competition with those astrophotographers to see if they can capture some of the images of the Perseids going across. And my goodness, was it difficult.
Because they're just going whoosh.
They're going so quick. You point your camera in one direction, of course it turns up in another direction. But this was the fun of the night, and the prize is still to be decided.
Oh, brilliant. How absolutely amazing. It's just, I mean, I know, Terry, you've been involved with the stars for a long, long time since you were a young lad. It obviously still fascinates you, just as you're describing that experience in the skies this past few days.
Yeah. Now, the trouble about modern society is that most people live in big cities and there's so much light pollution that it's very, very hard to see things like that. That's why we went out to Delamont. But anybody that lives out in the country probably sees them reasonably regularly.
But without a telescope?
Oh, yes, just your ordinary unaided eye. There are several showers during the year. The Perseids is one of the really good ones. There's another good one in December, but you can see them at any time of the year. But we know that every year, round about the 12th of August, you're going to see a lot more. So it builds up to a peak round about the 12th of August, and then for another 4 or 5 days or so, the activity slowly tails away. But you still see some tonight if it's clear.
If it's clear, if the cloud's clear, then we might have a nice little meteor shower, much nicer than the rainy showers that we keep getting.
So you look
that's
up
lovely.
and anywhere in the sky, in the northeast direction is where the meteors appear to come from. And if you know the sky at all, they come from Perseus.
How lovely. Now, talking of telescopes,
yes.
Between you and I stands a three-legged creature. One of your telescopes. What's this one, Terry?
This one here is just an ordinary astronomical telescope, but it has been fitted with a special filter that will enable us to look at the sun in complete safety at our event at Carnfunnock this afternoon. Now, I have to stress the safety angle. You never, ever, ever look at the sun through any sort of an astronomical instrument. No telescope, no binoculars, not even a camera viewfinder, or you can blind yourself. That's why we have these special filters. They're not available except through special astronomical retailers. Don't do it unless you have a proper filter.
A good warning. I love the way you keep saying, proper filter. Come on, Terry, proper filter.
Yes, oh,
it's a cardboard tube with a bit of silver at the end.
This is DIY at its very simplest and cheapest, but the filter is the important thing, and it will only let through 1/100,000th of the sunlight.
There's a bit, so it looks like tin foil at the bottom, at the open end.
It's a lot of people would call that mylar. It's not actually mylar, but it's a plastic film coated on both sides with a very high speciality coating, and that will block almost all of the sunlight, so that the small amount that gets through is all right for you to look at.
And what, Philip, do you see when you look through? You have another sun telescope in front of you, which is much more petite. What sort of images are you seeing when you watch the sun?
Yes, Helen, the scope that I actually have in front of me here is what's known as a Coronado. It's a hydrogen alpha filtered telescope, And what it actually does, without getting very technical in it, white light is made up basically of different colours, and this only allows one very small wavelength of light to actually pass through in the red part of the spectrum. And what you can actually see with this, and this is the one that actually gets the wow factor at all the events that we have, this is the one that shows the prominences and the solar surface, the photosphere, and it also shows the chromosphere, which is basically the next layer of atmosphere up from the photosphere. And in it you'll get huge loops, magnetic loops of plasma. It's really a seething, boiling cauldron of plasma.
Oh my goodness, that's what you see
That's
through the
what you
telescope.
can actually see, and some of these actually rise somewhere in the region of 10,000 kilometres in height.
You've
in
brought
fact,
some pictures in so we can sort of get an idea of it here. That one's got a hologram, so when you
Yep.
flick the cardboard, you see like that, you suddenly see, well, what would be like flares coming off the surface of the sun picture that we have.
That's exactly right.
That's what you see through your telescope.
That's what you can see through this particular telescope. Now we'll have probably 3 or 4 of these on view today at Carnfunnock and tomorrow at Mount Stewart. The beauty about this telescope, it's perfectly safe. You can actually see features on the sun that you can't see with any other type of telescope, and some of these features are actually larger than the Earth. When you consider actually the size of the sun, you can put 109 Earths across the diameter of the sun. It starts to bring into perspective the actual size of the sun itself.
And just to watch it in motion, how fantastic that will be. But as you say, Terry, you can only really do this when you have the right kit, as you have there, or you take these special precautions.
Yeah,
but the people who go to Carnfunnock this afternoon, it's from 2 until 5, isn't it, this afternoon? Hopefully, if the sky's clear, they'll be able to do this. It's all part of International Astronomical Day, or year, isn't it?
International Year of Astronomy. It's 400 years since Galileo first turned a telescope to the skies, so the United Nations designated this as International Year of Astronomy, and there's a whole lot of events going on throughout the country all year.
It's global.
It is, all over the world, yes.
Yeah.
So we're running these events. We want to bring them, make them available to everybody. So there's some events during the day and some at night. But obviously, the nighttime events, you have them during the winter or the spring and autumn, whenever the skies get dark.
What if it is chucking down with rain this afternoon?
We have a mobile
Yeah.
planetarium which we'll do star shows inside.
Right. With questions when you do these solar days.
Yes, and honestly, we don't mind. Certainly the one about the moon, they say if you look at it between your legs, if you put your head down and look, it'll actually be the same size.
I shall try that the next time. It will look slightly strange, so I shall do it in private. And do you know, there are so many like myths and legends, aren't there, about the stars and the moon? You know, like never looking at a new moon through glass. Yeah. Maybe you just say, "Oh, load of tush," or maybe you don't.
It depends whether you're superstitious or not. I am absolutely, totally non-superstitious. So
no, neither am I.
Well,
we like looking at the moon anytime through anything.
Yes, absolutely fascinated. So just a reminder, if you want to have a special view of our closest star and other things astronomical, the International Year of Astronomy Solar Day is at Carnfunnock Country Park. That's just north of Larne, and it runs from 2 until 5 today. And then, as you say, chaps, it's also in... Philip, do you have one little moment like that?
Probably certainly not maybe a romantic moment. I'm not going to discuss that, but certainly the trip to Turkey to see the solar eclipse was absolutely fantastic. By the time the eclipse actually started, the temperature dropped about 5 or 6 degrees. The birds stopped singing. The place went dark exceptionally quickly, and the solar eclipse itself was unbelievable. And I would recommend to anyone, please go and see a solar eclipse before.
Lovely. What's yours, Terry?
Talking about Benevin, I sometimes go up there to observe meteors to get away from all the lights of Belfast, so I know it well. But I would agree with Philip, a total solar eclipse is the most astounding thing you will ever see in your life. But not to repeat what Philip says, I think my first view of a bright comet, which I had been chasing for weeks and missing it all the time because of bad weather, and suddenly the sky cleared, and by this time the comet had got to its absolute brightness, maximum brightness. It was as bright as the full moon.
A memorable moment.
Brilliant. And I suddenly saw it through a gap in the clouds, and that just made the hair stand up in the back of my head.
How lovely. Thank you both very much. Just a quick time check. It's 18 minutes past 8. I'm Helen Mark. You're listening to Your Place and Mine, and still to come.